Hello everyone, welcome to another Stata tutorial video. In this video I'm going to talk about the collapse command in Stata. Collapse allows you to reorganize your data much in the way that an Excel pivot table does, and it is just as versatile. Essentially, it allows you to break down your data into categories and then calculate sums, means, and all kinds of other things for those categories. Before we get started, it's important to note that when you collapse a data set, it will irreparably alter your data. And it's very important that before you ever type in collapse that you make sure to save your data set. And you can do that with this button right here in the upper left corner. I've loaded up the data set from this week's slides of the toy store data set with the prices and sales figures for 20 different store locations across 5 different regions and 12 months of the year. First, we're going to see how to use collapse to calculate the mean sales and prices across the entire year for each store. To do that, we'll type in collapse, and then the next thing you do is type in the type of collapse you want to do. And if we're taking averages, we'll type in mean in parentheses. Next, you want to type in the variables that you're going to use, so sales and price. And just like many other Stata functions, you have options after the comma. And what we want to do here is type by. In the parentheses, we type in the categorical variable that we want to use to divide up our data. So we're going to use store ID. Now, when we run this, you can see that most of the variables in the window disappeared. That's because they were not involved in this collapse. Now we go back to the data browser and we can see that we have a much smaller data set that has each store and then the average of sales across the entire year and the average of price across the entire year for each store. Now we can use these new data points to make graphs and tables. For example, we can make a scatter plot of sales and price. To do another collapse, we're going to have to reload our original data set. All right, now we're ready to run another collapse. Another type of collapse that can be quite useful is the sum. So let's suppose that we wanted to calculate the total number of sales in each month across all the stores. So to do this, we'll type collapse, but now instead of mean, we'll put sum. The variable that we're interested in now is sales, and we're going to do this by month. We go back to the data browser. We can see that we now have a single sales figure for every month. And we can use this in a graph as well. So for example, we can make a line graph using sales and month. And now we'll get a nice figure showing how the sales changed across the year. Another powerful feature of collapse is that you can combine multiple types of collapses into a single command. This includes things like sum and mean that we've already used, but others as well, such as the standard deviation. Let's do another collapse where we calculate the mean and standard deviation of sales across regions. First, I'm going to type mean and sales, and then I also want the standard deviation, or SD, of sales by region. Now, if I run this, we get an error. And the reason for that is that once I collapse these variables down, I can't have two variables with the same name. So what I'm going to have to do is rename these variables in the collapse. So I'm going to rename these sales mean, and I will put an equal sign, and sales SD, again, separated with an equal sign. This now worked properly. We go to the data browser and we can see we have 5 regions with the mean and standard deviation for each. The last thing that I want to talk about is how you can use multiple categorical variables to collapse your data. let's suppose that we wanted to calculate the average price for each region in each month. So I can type collapse mean of price by region and month. And you can put as many categorical variables in there as you want. Now we'll take a look at the data. I now have 12 observations, one for each month for region 1, and then the average price. And then we have all 12 months for region 2 and region 3, and so on. That's all I have to say about the collapse command today. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks for watching.